Welcome to Release Readiness Live. I'm Elna Miller, your community moderator. And I'll be here with you all week as we talk about some of the great new features in the Winter 19 release. Today, we're going to be talking about Service Cloud. And what I love about Release Readiness Live is that no matter what type of Trailblazer you are, whether this is your first Salesforce release or your 20th, you're in for a treat. Our product managers are right here in the studio to give you live demos and answer some of your questions on the air. And speaking of questions, I'm very excited to welcome back our original community rock star, Sam Acuff, who's going to tell us how it works.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm so excited, just thrilled to be here. I love the Service Cloud. Now, what's really important is that the best place for you to ask your questions is in the Release Readiness Trailblazer community that's out in the Trailblazer community. Now, all you need to do is post a question there and use the hashtag Salesforce Live. That way I can find the questions very easily. Also, if you're using Twitter, you can do the same thing. Ask your question in Twitter, use the hashtag Salesforce Live. We do have a policy of no question left behind. So if we don't get to your questions on the air, don't worry. We will be answering your questions within usually a 24 to 48 hour period of time. So again, the trick is hashtag Salesforce Live. And Elna, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sam. We're really looking forward to those questions. And we are recording this broadcast as we've been recording all week, so you'll be able to watch it back anytime or share it with others. And also, we may be talking about the roadmap today, and if we do, we will be making some forward-looking statements. So please make your purchasing decisions based on currently available functionality. And now, let's meet our product managers, starting with Kanan. Welcome.
Well, hello. I am Kanan, product manager, Service Cloud. I own automation in Service Cloud. That includes Lightning Flow for Service and agent productivity tools like macros, quick text.
Hi, I'm Swati Deo. I'm a product manager on the live message team. I joined Salesforce 6 months back. Prior to that, I worked for Apple, Verizon, and a few other startups.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendra Fumai, part of the illustrious Field Service Lightning product management team. Thrilled to be here today to give you all the goodness that we've got coming.
Thank you, Kendra, and thank you, ladies. Great variety. Okay, let's get started. You're up, Kanan.
All right. So before we begin, I would like to extend a huge thank you to all of our customers and all of our partners out there on behalf of the entire Service Cloud product team. You guys have done amazing things with Service Cloud, and we're so grateful to have been on this journey with you. We really value your input, your feedback, and that has helped shape the future of Service Cloud. So please continue to do what you're doing, and thank you once again. With that, let's jump into Core Service. One of the biggest themes in Core Service or in Service Cloud in general has been the theme of empowered support. What does that mean? An empowered support means empowering our agents, empowering our users, empowering our field service technicians, providing them the right productivity tools, showing them relevant data at the right time so that they can quickly resolve customer support issues as fast as possible and move on to the next. So when we talk about empowered support, the first thing is where the agent spends most of their time, and that's in the Service Cloud console. With Winter 19, we have not only closed a lot of classic gaps, which includes JavaScript APIs, brought in support for external objects, but we've also made long strides in the aspect of personalization. Some of my favorites is the fact that you can now personalize your navigation tab. So let's say you're an agent and you use certain objects pretty frequently. You can now go into navigation tab and edit it and add objects that are of most interest to you. You can also customize your tabs with icons and titles that make sense to you. And then my personal favorite, really efficient, close all tabs with as small as a shortcut, keyboard shortcut. What's coming soon is pop-out utilities. So this gives you the ability to pop out any utility item into another window. Support for multi-monitor. This is pretty key to some of the core Service Cloud use case. And then live lists. This is needed for agents to know who else is collaborating on the case with them. So we're going to bring in all of these features in the next upcoming releases. When we talk about Service Cloud, the biggest, where all the action is, it's in the case object, case management. We've really expedited our investment in Lightning when it comes to case management. We've added a lot of new features around the case feed. This includes infinite scroll. You have compact case feed everywhere. You can embed the case feed as a separate component in the narrow layout, and it resizes, adjusts appropriately. We're continuing our investment in Lightning for all of our customers. We're going to bring in case hierarchies and contact roles in the upcoming releases. When we talk about core service, one of the biggest channels for core service is email outside of voice. And email has received a lot of love in the last few releases. We've continued with that trend. In Winter 19, we've added support for VisualForce email templates. What does that do? With VisualForce email templates, they're a little bit more powerful than your basic HTML templates. They can leverage all of the Salesforce data, like dynamically create tables out of Salesforce data that you can then embed in your email and send it out to customers. We've also added support for email audit fields. With email audit fields, you can now add or retain created by and created date. So when you migrate your data from one org to the other, these fields are persisted. Usually when you migrate data, it's usually run in admin mode and some of these fields get overwritten, but with email audit fields, these dates are going to be persisted. What's coming soon? Approval of email drafts. So now you can have your manager approve your email drafts, make sure everybody's on the same page before you send them out, and then also attach attachments from case, chatter, email feed into the email. One of the other big things that's happened in Winter 19 is inline support for images. So you can take a screenshot as an agent's working on the desktop and directly copy paste it into email. And then knowledge. As most of you know, one of the most critical things or features in a service organization is having a well-curated, well-maintained knowledge base. It really helps your agents to have these knowledge articles on the tip of their fingers. In Winter 19, we've seen some really good enhancements in our knowledge product. You can now add anchors to knowledge. So this may seem small, but it's a huge request for some of our customers. Now you can, with anchors, you can link to a specific section in the knowledge article. So if I were to send that knowledge article to somebody, they could go directly to that section without having to scroll through the entire article. You've got support for mass actions. Imagine you're an agent out on a PTO and you want to reassign all of your cases to your manager or another user before going on your PTO. Before Winter 19, you would have to individually go through each of these draft articles and assign them on a one-to-one basis. Now with mass action in the list view, you can mass assign all of your articles or publish them all in one click. And then this auto-filtered search based on case fields. So if you have a knowledge component on your case object, and you can tie up your data categories to your case fields, so once the case field is updated, it automatically filters out data categories and shows you relevant knowledge article. I think that's pretty powerful and it's a huge enhancement in the knowledge product. Coming soon, we're still working and we've made huge progress with our knowledge migration tool. About over 100 customers have successfully migrated their knowledge base in their sandboxes, and some have even pushed that to production. We really encourage every knowledge customer out there to start their knowledge migration journey using the migration tool. And with that, I'm actually going to jump into a demo to show you all of the highlights that we've just spoken about. So let's go into console and the navigation tab personalization. So if you hit edit, you get shown this pop-up window or this modal. You can see as an end user, I really work on knowledge. I've added it to my frequently navigation items. Some of these items are not removable. That means an admin's assign them and you're, as an agent, not allowed to remove them, but you can definitely add more items using this add more item pop-up. One of the other things you can do is customize tabs. So let's say for cases you want to add a different icon, you could do that. You could have a different tab label. If you work on reports or opportunities and you have your own personal favorites, you can do that. Again, personalization to me just means more power to the agents, more power to the end user, and that is consistently seen in all of the product lines that we're building. Now, if I were to go to knowledge, I wanted to show you the mass quick actions or mass action on knowledge articles. Let me go to a list that has articles. So you can see I have archived articles over here. Initially, I would have had to one by one go there and publish them, but now I can, with a single click, hit assign, which throws me this pop-up. I can assign it to any user or to a queue, and it gets auto-assigned all at once with a couple of clicks. The same thing with publish. I could publish all of these articles in one click either now or schedule it to be published at a future date using a scheduler. And then one of the other things I wanted to show you is if we go on to our case, emails. If I were to take a screenshot, I can directly drag and drop it into this case email with just a drag and drop. You don't need to copy paste anything. It's just a drag and drop that you can do in your email. We've added support for expanded compact case feed. That means with one click, you can expand through everything. If you have really long running case feeds on cases, this is really powerful. It's a small little button, but it goes a long way in collapsing and seeing all the comments in one go, and then expanding it and going through each comment if you wanted to. So these are some of the enhancements on the core Service Cloud side that we've made. With that, I'm going to go into automation and what automation means for Service Cloud and what our journey has been, in fact, in the last year. This is a product that I work on, so I'm pretty close to this. It's called Lightning Flow for Service. And when we talk about empowerment, we really want to empower not just our agents, but also our customers. Surely there's a business process in your organization that you need to automate. It could be as simple as a reset password, or it could be a very complicated loan application origination. All of those business processes can be automated using our brand new Lightning Flow product. But then once you've automated that, you want to bring these visual guided processes in the hands of your agents in Service Console. And the way you can do that is using guided actions and a guided action list, which is called, the whole product's called Lightning Flow for Service. As you can see in the screenshot, and I'll go into a demo in a short bit, you can now, the agents with this component can see all of the business processes that are available to them in context of this record. And then they can not only just see all the business processes that are available, but they can also see what stage in the process they are on. So as they open this process, which is this Lightning Flow right here, you can see it's got 3 stages, and they can easily know as they progress through the visual process where they are and that if it's been completed. In Winter 19, we've added support for guided action history. This is super powerful for agents, for case supervisors, because they want to know which flows were run on a case, which agent ran them. Usually when a flow is run, it is done, it updates a bunch of things on the record, but then there's no real history that the flow was executed besides the fact that the fields were updated or new records were created. But with guided action history, we'll let you know right there in the component what flows were run, by who they were run, and then the timestamp. You can also configure flows in the action picker. Action picker is a way for agents to add flows to the guided action list as they're working on a case. The admin could have configured a preset set of flows, but as the agent's working on a case, they may want to use a different flow. They can add that using the add button, and you can also configure which list of flows to show the agent in the action picker. And then mandatory flow. This is huge. We hear this over and over and over again. We want our agents to follow a certain process before they start editing the record. Now, with mandatory flows, you can actually enforce compliance. You can actually enforce agents run a preset defined set of actions in a flow before they start working on a case. It's pretty huge and very easy to set up, that I will show in a bit. It's coming soon, a unified flow experience and console. Today we want to unify all of the flows that agents can launch in a console. So we want to not only have guided actions, but also have recommended actions show inline as the agents selecting flows from the guided action list. We also want agents to see all the paused flows in the guided action list. So I could have paused a flow in, let's say, in a community, and when the case agent opens that same record, let's say the contact in a console, we'd want to see what this customer had done in the community in the form of paused flow. And auto refresh of guided action list. So we want the agents, we want the guided action list to be auto refreshed. What that means is, let's say you escalated a case, the agent went from new to escalated. We want the set of actions to be auto refreshed based on the underlying record. And then last but not the least, we've got a huge suite of productivity tools in core service. They're macros and quick text. Macros, as you may know, allows you, it's UI level automation, allows you to automate a bunch of UI clicks. Agents can run this easily to close a case, to make a comment on a case, to send out emails, anything that's repetitive at the UI level, you can enclose that into a macro and then use this macro repetitively across all cases. In Winter 19, we've added support for folders. We've seen customers who love this feature and then they use it extensively and they create a macro for almost about everything. And when these macros get out of hand, let's say you've got 100 macros, it's very difficult to scroll through 100 macros if they've not been folderized or if they've not been categorized. With foldering support, agents can easily folder them, categorize them, and then only use the macros as they see possible. Coming soon, we've got conditional macros. This is, again, a huge feature. With conditional macros, you can add conditions within a macro. That means you don't need a new macro for things that need to happen on a case when it's in the new status, or a different macro for a case which is in the closed status. With one macro, adding conditions, if new, do this, send this email template. If closed, send this other email template. You can do all of that with one macro using conditions. Now let's jump into a demo to show you what guided action list looks like. We've got imagine a use case where you've got a customer calling you in. I'm just going to simulate a call. So once this call comes in, one of the biggest feedback from our customers is we really don't want them to go to a case object directly, but we want to collect information about the customer before popping them into a contact or a case. Now with flows, Lightning Flow, you can immediately pop them to a flow. The flow collects all the information. In this case, I'm going to use Katie Boyle as my first name, last name, phone number. That was the number that the user used to call in. Hit next. Take in all of the information you need from the end user before they jump onto a case. Hit next. And then this means we've collected all your information, and that throws you into the Katie Boyle contact. This is, again, a huge request for CTI customers. I know that because we hear about this all the time. With pop to flow configuration in your soft phone layout, you can achieve this with a couple of clicks. Once let's say you're in the contact record, in this case, Katie Boyle, you can see this component called the guided action list. Let's say Katie Boyle was calling about financial planning. Agent can easily launch this flow about financial planning. What type of plan do you want? You can talk about investment philosophy, a life goal. The idea is the agent's running this flow in context of Katie Boyle. Now, I started talking about financial planning, but let's say I wanted to also talk about a new credit card offer. The agent in that moment can hit add, see all of the available flows that are available or exposed to him by the admin in this action picker, and then they can launch them just as well. So in this case, I'm going to launch estate planning, show them, which will take you through a series of questions. We've also added support for a call script. So this really helps guide new agents and stick to a script as they're going through a customer support process. Mind you, these are all Lightning components, so you can reuse your Lightning component in a Lightning flow. You don't need to build new components to be used in a Lightning flow. This is your path component. This is a call script component that's available on AppExchange. These are all your plain old Lightning components. The great thing about flows is they're pretty visual. You can see I've used another component, it's called the tiles component, available on AppExchange. You can make them as visual as possible using Lightning component.
You didn't have any bigger icons to use?
Yes, we can fix that. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is as the agent's going through this, you give them inline indication of where they are, but also allows the agent to know which flow is in progress and at what stage they are. Now let's hop on over to history. Let's say I close this contact out, or as the supervisor, I want to go and see which flows were run. You can see the verify caller was run by Eric Ware, started at this time, and then you can see which flows were started, completed. In Winter 19, we only support flows, but we're going to expand our support to quick actions. And then finally, we've got macros. And then folding for macros, which means today you can, this used to be a flat list. I have now categorized my macros in folders. Well, you've got nothing, I've not created any, sorry about that, but you would eventually see a list of macros within the folders as the agent navigates through the case. Cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Lots of great stuff there. And I think we should also hear from our audience and see what they thought of this and also what questions they have. I personally can't wait for the customizing the tab label. It's really useful for cases and any other object that uses the auto number, right? Where you want to be able to see which case is that and be able to kind of bookmark it there in the tab. That's really cool.
Yep.
So Sam, what questions, we have maybe time for 2 or 3 quick questions before we move on.
Well, I love this question from Laura. She's asking, are all the Service Cloud knowledge features only in Knowledge for Lightning? And does Lightning support all of the different translation languages available? I thought that was an excellent question.
For translations, I know we added support for translations last release, so it should be available in Lightning. In general, all the new innovation is going to be made in Lightning, so we'll try to pretty sure we'll try to port over all the classic features, but any of the new innovation will be on Lightning.
So everything you showed is Lightning knowledge?
Yes.
Great. Alrighty, and I want to address a great question out there because I think it might be applicable to quite a few people. So Roman asked a question about some of the list view features that have been out on the Idea Exchange. I think what's really important to share is that, Roman, a lot of what you were asking about was in the platform session yesterday. So I think that you'd be really excited. I would go take a look at those videos, but things like configurable list views and getting rid of the recently viewed list, please go take a look at that. And for everybody else in the audience, if you didn't go to the platform session, those things actually apply to Service Cloud. So I think it's really important that you know that there was some major stuff covered. Yeah. So Elna, I think I'll go back to you, but we'll get more questions later.
Yeah, we'll probably circle back with you at the end. And also, there were quite a few things about the console customization yesterday as well. So if you want to know what specifically applies to console in general or what is service-related console, then go ahead and ask us in the community, and we'll loop in the platform product managers, and they can really give you those distinctions.
Yeah. And Service Console is really just a Lightning console.
Right.
It may be geared towards service, like you may have your utility bar geared towards service, but as a platform, it is the Lightning console built by the platform team that we leverage.
Perfect.
It's not a different product.
Thank you. Great to clarify that. So Swati, over to you for
Sure.
digital engagement.
Thanks,
And you're
Elena.
going to explain what that is, right? Because some people don't even know.
Today I'll be covering the digital engagement suite of products. First off, I'll start with Live Message. The big announcement here is that Live Message is GA in winter. Agents and admins can use this as a native product with seamless agent experience, simple setup with standard permissions, and improved performance. Now you can purchase Live Message as a add-on with your Service Cloud license. With this release, you can enable SMS and Facebook on Live Message. Customers can now start a conversation by just sending the first message, or you can send an outbound notification when the data in the CRM changes. Let's say a customer reaches your business and you need some clarifying information before you can process the case. You can simply change the case status to needs more information. That will send an outbound notification which will let the customer know that they need to provide some information. The customer can provide that information at their convenience, and that message is essentially routed to the agent. And that's how the conversation starts with the support team. Another feature that we've added for the admins is a step-by-step guided flow, which takes them through the Facebook setup, starting with authentication and the option to set up Omni as well. Automated responses are a great way to send timely responses for the most repetitive common scenarios, like when you receive the first message from the customer, or when the chat ends, or when the agent is engaged and wants to send a greeting. The admin can also customize automated responses for opt-in and opt-out. Pictures speak 1,000 words. Your customers are already conditioned to sending pictures as part of their messaging with friends and family. Now they can send a picture to the agent. The agent can now see the picture in their conversation within the agent console. And they can also respond back with a picture or attachment. Now, this is very powerful in support, especially if you're working on complex issues. So here's a sneak peek at our upcoming releases. We'll continue to add we'll continue to add more channels to our platform. Apple Business Chat is a great way to provide rich media experiences to your customers on iMessage. Similarly, WeChat will allow you to provide support to your global customers. Enabling bots on SMS and other channels will allow you to provide answers faster to your customers, and also be able to escalate to an agent if the issue is more complex. The next product is Web and In-App Chat, which is our Live Agent and Snap-ins product. The winter release for Live Agent and Snap-ins has been focused on improving the customer experiences. We continue to make advances in our Einstein bot support for iOS and Android. You can simply embed our mobile SDK in your mobile app to provide great chatbot experiences. Another great feature that we've added is when the agent sends the hyperlink, a graphical preview of the hyperlink is shown to the user in their chat. This is very similar to any messaging apps like Facebook Messenger. While Snap-ins provide a out-of-the-box native, beautiful experience, you might want to customize it. So similar to Android, you can now customize the look and feel of Snap-ins in iOS to create your own unique experience. One of the upcoming feature, which is pretty exciting, is the agent conferencing. If the agent needs assistance, they can add other agents to the chat in real time and solve the customer issue. Social customer service had another awesome release. We are very excited to announce support for YouTube channels, which is an ever-growing platform with more than 1.8 billion monthly active users. Now, you can actually capture these comments and replies, and if you want, you can moderate them, triage them, and essentially respond back to them right from the service console. Another feature, a very top requested feature that we delivered is the emoji picker on the social publisher. Agents can now respond back to public posts on Facebook privately. So essentially taking the service conversation to a more private channel. And lastly, we have added the ability to respond to social posts directly from the record home, essentially eliminating the need for creating a case for lightweight customer interactions. Moving on to omnichannel. Here, we have been focused on making Omni intelligent and contextual. Now you can use the power of skills to route chats. The setup is very declarative. So essentially, you can attach skills to the buttons and use the goodness of Omni to route. We've also delivered a much awaited feature, which is the supervisor monitoring. In this case, the supervisor can monitor chats in real time. In winter, an extension of this feature would allow supervisors to essentially respond to calls for help via flag raise and whisper functionality. Now let's get into the demo. I'm going to cover the live message features that we've built in our winter release. Let's say there's a company called Goldilocks. It's actually a toy store. They have purchased 50 live message add-on licenses. They have a phone number for phone support, which they want to enable for text. They are also very popular on Facebook, so they want to enable Facebook on live message also. Let's assume you are the admin. So as an admin, you would come to the setup screen. Here, you would search for live message, which would bring up the live message settings. On the live message settings screen, at the top is the live message toggle button. All you have to do is toggle that on to enable live message for this org. Now, I have already created two channels here. One is the SMS channel and the other is the Facebook channel. If you were starting from scratch, you could add a new channel from here. Essentially, this is the guided flow, which walks you through setting up Facebook Messenger. I'm not going to go through this flow, but essentially, it's a wizard which you can complete right here. Once you have set up a channel, you can actually edit the channel. So if you go in here, you can click on Edit, and that brings up this modal. As you can see, the automated responses are already entered here. But if I want, I can edit these responses and save them. Now let's switch gears. This is Brian. He's a customer. He has bought a few toys from Goldilocks. And one of the toys was damaged in transit. So he wants a replacement. We are looking at his Facebook page. So he's going to send a message from Facebook to the support center. Along with the message, he's going to add a picture of the broken toy, and send. Now, this picture is sent to the agent. Let's look at the agent console. As you can see, the agent has received the message. They accept the message. And as you can see, they see the picture in line. Now that's very powerful. Looking at the picture, the agent is convinced that, yes, they need a replacement. So they're going to just say, sure. Now a trained agent will do a better job than I did. So they send the response and close the tab. In the background, they have already created a case. So here's the case. The top thing is the case that I've already created. So this is the case for sending a replacement. Now, as the agent was creating the case, they realized that they don't have a shipping address on record. So the agent puts this case on hold. Now, let's look at the device. So this is Brian's cell phone. As you can see, Brian has been notified that their case has been put on hold and that they need to provide a shipping address. Let's pause here for a minute and see what's happening behind the scenes. This is the process builder. Screen. So essentially here, I've already set up an event where if the shipping address is missing and the case is on hold, then send a notification to the customer. So here's the notification that I've created. Now here, as you can see, it is using a template. Now let's go and check out the template. So here's the template. As you can see, you can really personalize the content here. You can use any field from your CRM. So here I've used the contact first name and the case number and the case status. Now let's switch back to Brian's device. Brian sends the address. Switching back to our agent console, there is a message waiting for the agent. The agent accepts the message here. They see the address and they are sending the response saying, done, will ship your replacement. Let's pause here for a minute again. So again, for context, the agent always has transcripts. So they can go back and review the transcripts, which will tell them that there was an outbound message that was sent asking for the address. In one of our upcoming releases, we will actually have an infinite scrolling transcript. So right here, they could be scrolling and actually see the context for what had happened in the previous conversations. So the agent here, again, closes the tab and the product has been shipped. Again, as you can see on the right on Brian's device, all the automated responses that we had set up have been sent. Back to the cases Kanban view. So the agent goes back here, and the case that was put on hold is essentially now closed. So he moves that case to closed. Again, let's give it a second. Brian should be getting a message from the customer support saying the case has been closed. Again, this was a triggered outbound message that I had set up earlier in Process Builder. So that's the power of live message. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's really great. Very comprehensive demo. I can definitely see how all of these tools work together, and with the automation on top of it. I mean, clearly, Process Builder and Flow plus this digital engagement package is really essential for pretty much every medium to large size service organization for sure. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I bet we have some questions out there. So Sam, what do we got?
Well, thank you very much, Elna. First of all, we have an international audience. So what countries does Live Message support?
So we support 25 countries across APAC, EMEA, and AMER. And the list of the countries should be on the portal. If not, we'll post it there.
Now, also, how can I get Live Message in Lightning?
So you can get Live Message on Lightning. For getting Live Message on Lightning, you'll have to sign the new terms and conditions for the digital engagement suite. So once you have that, it is really straightforward. And in terms of pricing, in the Lightning product, the pricing is going to be based on conversations and not on messaging. So essentially, you should talk to your account team to help you further.
Now, I'm using Live Message as a managed package right now. Do I have to switch to Lightning right away?
You don't have to, but all the new features that we are building are in Lightning. So if you really want to avail all the new features, you should be talking to your account team on the migration plan.
Now I have a snap-in question. In snap-ins, what is chat across tabs?
So essentially, if you open more tabs or windows for a particular domain, then the chat just carries across these tabs. So you don't have to go back to that first screen where you opened that chat.
Now, somebody got really excited about Live Message and macros. I'm not sure if we're prepared to answer that on the line because it might be an in-depth conversation, but is there some compatibility there?
I think
So adding a macro to the Live Message transcript, it would depend on your use case, what you're trying to do with it. On the macro level, we should support any objects, and we do that. But if it depends on what they're trying to build this macro for.
Okay, so we'll need to be a little bit, we'll go.
If we could get the use case.
We'll connect with you. If you could put the use case on your question, that would be amazing. And Elna, how are we doing on time?
We have time for a couple more questions.
All right. I'm looking at the community. Are there any improvements made in messaging sending out of order to the customer or agents receiving messages out of order? We use message size max of 140 characters. So I think that sometimes their messages are getting a little jumbled. Is there can you shed some light on that?
Yes, so in this release, there are some enhancements that are coming out which will help with the sequence of the messages.
Oh, wonderful. So we should, I'll go look up, that was from Rama, and I will go look up in the release notes and find that specific area and put it right on your question. And Elna, I think we should go back to you.
Okay, thanks. I actually have one question, so maybe you can to entertain that. When you were talking about the lightweight interactions where you didn't create a case,
right.
How are those tracked, or how are they saved, and can they report on them? And if they do a lot of those, they would want to, of course.
Right. Again, it depends on the business. So if they want to create a case for everything, they can. But the whole point of messaging and chat environments is that you don't need to create a case. If you can just resolve the issue there and there, then that's probably the best.
All right, great. Great, thank you. Okay, Kendra, you're up with Field Service Lightning.
Great. So we're going to talk now about field service, and we're going to start with the platform. The first highlight we have, we actually owe lots of credit and thanks to the fantastic partnership we've had with the Lightning Flows team. We are going to be bringing, yes, exactly, we are going to be bringing step-by-step job guidance to the mobile workforce. So just as important as it is for the agents, we want to empower mobile workers and even contractors to take advantage of prescribed processes to assist with service delivery. We've also made a number of enhancements around our service reports. Service reports are paperwork that's used during service to capture signature and then provide proof of service to the customer. We've made a number of enhancements there. I'll show you that in the demo as well. Following along then on the back office side, the convenient appointment booking capabilities we've made even easier to use. We're introducing a concept of gold slots to try to find the ideal time slot for the business to match with the customer's preferences. We'll also look at that in a demo. Finally, on the platform side, we've enabled transfers of serialized inventory. Typically, serialized inventory represents higher value items, perhaps capital goods, and it's very important to be able to keep track of them, whether they're in a warehouse, a technician's van, and the movement associated with those objects. And then finally, again, building on the platform, most of the field service data that we provide around the work orders, the service appointments, the customer information, most organizations prefer to keep that private and only share the relevant data with the various mobile workforce and contractors. So building upon our sharing platform capabilities, we've introduced some automatic sharing for field service objects, which you can enable through settings in the field service area. And it's as simple as making the work orders and the service appointments automatically shared and available to the appropriate end user. Okay, so let's dive in now to a little bit more about the platform, starting first with service reports. I mentioned service reports are the proof of service. They're the paperwork we use to inform the customer about what happened and get their signature. Now with Winter, service reports can be generated in any of Salesforce's fully supported languages. We're leveraging Translation Workbench to make the service report language available. And to enable this, what we've also done is created a new field called the service report language, which you can use to specify on the work order directly. So in this way, you can generate service reports in English, French, really whatever language you need to as appropriate. One note here, not everything on the service report is translated. We don't translate text field values and header values, but everything else in the report is translated and available, and we'll look at this in a demo. In addition to expanding the language support, we also now support the power of Apex with triggers on service reports. This is very convenient if you want to do things like after the fact, automatically send a copy of the report to the customer. You can now do that through triggers. And we've added a convenient option so that you can understand which service reports have been signed. Sometimes the customer isn't there when you need to capture their signature, and there's follow-up activities to gather the signature, or perhaps the customer just needs a copy of it after the fact. So with the signed checkbox, you can understand what's signed, and triggers can expedite some of the handling of the service reports. Moving on now and talking about transferring inventory. Inventory within the platform is defined in an object called product items. When you define your inventory, you specify where it is and how much you have. What we've done now is allow inventory tracked through a serial number to be transferred between locations. So typically, like I mentioned, serialized inventory, inventory with a serial number, means that it's usually higher value and you very need to specifically track it. So if you think, for example, of the difference between, say, a hammer and iPhones or iPads, each hammer is the same. I don't really need to label hammer 1, 2, 3. But certainly if I've got iPhones, perhaps I have generators or other large capital equipment, those do have a serial number. They are serialized. What you can do now is transfer the inventory of these serialized products. Up until this point, it was not possible. Now you can do it. There's a couple use cases here to point out. The first of which is that inventory may be set up in a warehouse and someone in the field has requested it. The transfer then would be facilitated from the warehouse location, ultimately through the product request, and transferred to the mobile worker who needs it. The other scenario is you might have new mobile workers joining your team, and they might need to stock their vans, their vehicles. So you don't need to fulfill product transfers solely through product requests. You can also use them for stock replenishment scenarios as well. And one note here, this feature is in beta, so you'll need to contact us to get access to it. We're very happy to enable it for you in your environment, so talk to your account teams and get in touch with us if you're interested in using it. Okay, and this is where our fantastic partnership, and we get to speak some more about that. We have taken all the goodness of the guided actions that the Lightning Flows team has built and provided, and we're bringing it now to work orders and work types. What does this mean? It means you can have a step-by-step process that you put in front of your back office staff as well as your mobile workers. And these guided actions, like Kanan has talked about, they are flows. And what's fantastic about that is these flows can be run offline in the mobile app. So we've got the benefit of enabling everyone with a process that's perfect for them. And what we've done to make this very easy for you to get started with on the field service side is we have extended our work types, which are templates that you can use to define the types of work that you deliver in the field, to define the guided actions that are part of these various work types that you're delivering. And when work orders and work order line items are created, our template creates the work order to include the guided actions that you've defined by default. So very easy to administer, prescribe, and ultimately get in the hands of the staff who need it. And we're going to look at this in some more detail. Next, on the appointment booking front, we're trying to, as much as possible, make it very simple for your back office staff, your agents, your reps, whoever is interacting with your customers who might need field work delivered. We provide a very convenient appointment booking option they can use directly within the console to find the perfect time for the customer. We've expanded these options with something that the business can configure that we're calling gold slots. So from the business's perspective, these represent ideal times when the business can meet the customer's need. So the agent is able to balance the customer's request, the customer's availability, with what might be best from the business's perspective. And we have a couple other settings as well to filter out lower grade appointments and tailor the view that's opened by the rep in the console.
And that uses Lightning Flow as well.
It sure does. Lightning Flow is everywhere, Kanan.
Everywhere.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Now, so switching gears a little bit, we also have another incredibly important user for field service on the back office. That's the dispatchers, right? So those are the folks who are the air traffic controllers, if you will, making sure that all the work that happens in the field gets accomplished successfully. And we have made a tremendous amount of enhancements to make the dispatcher's life easier. Because, you know, the reality is being a dispatcher is very hard. No matter what perfect schedule you put in place, life happens and you have to adjust to it in real time. So just as important as the agent and the mobile worker is this back office air traffic controller making all this field work possible. And what's fantastic is we've taken some of the capabilities that we've delivered just through the console now and we've made it available in the community. So what that means is if you're a contractor and you're working through our community, you now too will be able to experience the power of scheduling and the dispatch experience directly within your community interface. That's right. We want to empower everyone.
Every persona.
You got it.
Yep.
Exactly. We've also introduced some other capabilities that allow you to color code the Gantt and provide custom actions, as well as make the interface just even easier to navigate. And we'll spend some more time looking at these features in the demo. Now, talking about community dispatch, like I just mentioned, the dispatch console is now available to be used in your community. It can be used with your contractors, most notably. So as you, the enterprise, are scheduling work and you're delivering it through your various third-party contractors, those contractors can now use the dispatch console to receive the work and schedule it with their various mobile workers. So what we've done is we've brought the customer and the enterprise even closer together by making the dispatchers and the enterprise get to take advantage of the same scheduling power. This will be included with the Contractor Plus SKU in winter. So if you've already got that SKU, you'll simply be able to add the dispatch console to your community as appropriate. And then lastly, to assist with this, in the managed package, we've also delivered some new permission set guides so that you can create the permission sets to provide access to your dispatchers and your community users. Okay, a couple other things that we've introduced with the Gantt. The first one we are calling custom palettes. And what this lets you do in the dispatch console is apply a color code or a color scheme to help understand and highlight various situations. So I mentioned that you put in a schedule, you've got the optimal schedule in place, but then you know what happens? Swati calls in sick. What do? We need to deal with that. Yeah. So color coding is a way to get visibility into certain issues so that this dispatcher who needs to make intelligent decisions are armed with visual cues to do that. And what are some of these use cases? Well, first, due dates. Right? If Swati isn't feeling good and she can't come into work, I still have dates that I've committed to my customers that I have to ensure I deliver on. This makes it very easy for me to understand things like the due date. Perhaps I have high priority issues, even emergency issues, or VIP customers that I need to be able to spot throughout all the noise of my very busy days. And even I might be able to understand where my various resources are located so that I can understand proximity or distance for service. And we're going to look at this live in the console. I think it is really, really powerful and also very fun. You can be creative with whatever colors you use. And to give you an idea about what some of these parameters are, we'll look at this more, but this is a view of the setup side of your palettes. You choose the field on the service appointment that you're interested in building this color code scheme around. It can be checkboxes, it can be pick list fields, numbers, for example. And then you set your values and your colors, which then will change the appearance of the appointments in the console. Very much related to color coding is the ability for our agents to take custom actions within the dispatch console. And I'm a little bit hesitant to say this, but I'm going to. You can do virtually anything you need to now to expand.
Kendra,
well, you know, you really can virtually do anything. What do custom actions let you do? They let you call VisualForce and Apex directly from the dispatch console. So what does that mean? It means pretty much anywhere I can interact with the dispatch console, viewing my appointments on the Gantt, any of my resource absences or my lunch breaks, even maps that are drawn in my dispatch console, I can add custom actions through a simple click I can take. And we've got some really great new documentation that also goes along with this, which we've linked here for convenience. But effectively what you can do is take your VisualForce, take your Apex, define these as actions, and place them in the dispatch console where it makes sense. Now finally, our last persona that we're trying to empower is the mobile worker. And what we've got coming now in winter is parity between our iOS and our Android apps. This is a big milestone for the team. And with this parity release comes some enhancements on the iOS side, which brings iOS now back up to parity with Android, including more chatter capabilities, the ability to filter your service reports on the various fields, layout-driven inventory, as well as quick actions for flows. In addition to that, we've also got some enhancements coming to our offline flow capability, where you'll be able to use offline formulas and validations within the offline mobile flows. Okay, actually, and I am now going to switch gears, and I am going to show you a demo. So I am looking here at a console. I am logged in here, and what I'm looking at first is a work type. So a work type, if you remember, is a template that can be applied to field service work. It lets me specify a number of things, like how long the work is going to take, how long I have until I need to complete it from an SLA perspective, as well as knowledge that might be relevant for me to perform the work, skills of the workforce that are required to deliver it, and you'll notice that we've got the guided action list component in the work type as well. What this lets me do on the work type is define the actions or the flows that will be available as part of this work. So in my scenario here, we've got some proactive monitoring that the company will do on behalf of customers, try to get ahead of problems before they occur. And for this scenario, the agent will triage, communicate, and then if necessary, dispatch. So when I'm working in here, it gives me the ability to add these actions. And now let's go ahead and take a look at them in action. I'm going to create a new work order. I'm going to use the proactive monitoring work type. We'll go ahead and we'll set this up for my end user, and we'll create the work order. Now let's go look at that. From the work type template, we now see we have the guided action list blown out for me. Hooray, yes. And you can see here the difference now is it's active and I can interact with it. So just like Kanan was showing earlier, I'm able to dive directly into the flow, and I can do things if necessary, like pause them. I'm gonna pause this because I'm in an important demo right now. And what's fantastic about that, like Kanan was showing, is I can see the status of what's occurred, what's paused, what's remaining, as well as the history. So I've got full visibility into what's occurred, not just for me, but also for the managerial staff who might be supporting this. So very powerful, very easy for me to get access and use it. And as mentioned, if there are other flows that are available to me, I can find them and use them directly in line as well. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show here is we've got this work order we want to go ahead and monitor, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to book an appointment to send someone on site. So I'm using a global action, the booking action, which is provided as part of the managed package and made available in my feed. What I'm going to do now is create a new appointment. One thing to notice here is I've taken advantage of a new setting and I'm expanding and showing this extended view of the appointment booking action directly to the agents. This is a toggle or a tweak that you can make in the field service settings. What this does is let me see the full set of inputs that are used for scheduling purposes, and I will go ahead and get appointments now. And we're going to take a look at the second major feature, our golden slots. So what's happening here, the scheduling engine is taking these inputs about the type of work, the skills required, where it's located, when it needs to happen, and it's determining what the best time slots are based on the business's scheduling policies. So what gold represents are, from the business's perspective, the best times for us to be able to provide service to this end customer. Now, of course, we need to marry the business's ideal with the customer's preferences. But what we're doing here is making it incredibly easy for your agents or your representatives to understand what's best and go ahead and make the decision. If you were to expand and drill in, you can see a little bit more about why these are actually ranked as the top three. In this case here, we're prioritizing getting there as soon as possible. This is the first available slot. I will go ahead and I will choose that. Now, once I have the service appointment, we are going to send someone on site and we're going to help this customer. And ultimately, when we're done, we are going to get their signature. So this gives us the opportunity to now show off multilingual service reports. So I've got another quick action I'm using here to specify what will be the report language. So I've got a couple languages that I've set up in Translation Workbench. I'll go ahead and I will choose French, and I'm going to choose a particular service report template as well. So let me go ahead and save that. And we will take a look now at the service appointment. So we've got all this good information in here. Sometime later, the mobile worker is going to finish all the work, create the service report, And what we're getting a view of now is this translated French service report. So you can see my field values are still in English. If my French was better, this would all be en français. But as it stands, the labels for all the fields are translated. One note here, the section headers as well as text inline, I have translated directly and made a part of the winter template. So you've got a lot of flexibility. You can use any of the languages. It takes advantage of your existing translations, and any of these service reports can be generated in the language that's appropriate. One other thing to keep in mind, oftentimes these service reports are used by our mobile workers in the field, but want to remind everyone that service reports can be created, sent, and previewed from the back office as well. So if a customer requested, say, a copy of their service report after the fact, your back office staff also has the ability to generate and send these service reports out as well.
Right.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is switch gears, and we're going to show off some of the new dispatch console capabilities. So again, I am using a console org, and in particular, I'm showing you my dispatch console. So I've got a very heavy schedule of appointments. And the first thing I want to show here is how to take advantage of these custom palettes. So within my filter, you'll notice on the far right a palettes option. This is where I can define and apply these palettes. Now by default, the color coding that you see here is based on the status of the service appointment. So gold, for example, indicates that it's scheduled but not yet started. Green is done, for example. If you would like to change the default color coding, you can do that through a palette, or you could apply other palettes. So the first one to take a look at is we've got work where we've committed to due dates. We need to make our SLAs with our customers, and it's important for me as a dispatcher to understand where I might not be able to achieve that. So when I choose this palette and apply, you can see what happens in the background. I now have a very easy way to understand my green is good, but my red ones, I'm in jeopardy of potentially missing my promise to the customer. Another thing I could do, as an example, is look at any of the work orders, service appointments that are in jeopardy. In jeopardy is a way to flag appointments that for whatever reason are going to have some sort of an issue, maybe with when they need to start or when they need to finish. What this palette is doing is effectively making all the appointments that look good gray, and it's bringing to life through red the appointments that need serious care and feeding or attention from me. And then the last example of a palette, perhaps I need to do some scheduling based on distance. Treasure Island here in San Francisco, we chose this. Perhaps I have some work there, and I'm trying to find the resource that might be the most proximate or closest to it. In that case, I'm showing these appointments in green and the further away in yellow. So a lot you can do with this. The way you define these palettes, again, back in through the editor view, you can choose to make a new palette. And if I just look at what's defined here, when I define these, I'm naming it. I'm then choosing the field on the service appointment that the color coding is based on. I choose my colors. And depending on the type of field I'm working with, I can set minimum and maximum values. So all point and click declarative, very easy to put these in place. Now behind the scenes there is an object where these palettes are defined. So if you have different palettes that you want to share with different dispatchers, you can do that through standard sharing rules. Now, the second feature to show, also related, are these custom actions. So I mentioned that within the dispatch console you can call VisualForce and Apex directly. And you can use that from a variety of different locations. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take action directly from a series of service appointments. So let's say, for example, something's happened. I understand now that I'm going to have an issue, potentially. When I right mouse click, you'll notice at the bottom here, I see an in jeopardy option. This is an Apex class, which is going to update these service appointments to toggle the jeopardy flag. So when I do that, I'll go ahead and make that click. And when it completes here, you'll see what I'm actually getting a response back here is the string output of my Apex class telling me which appointments have been updated. And you'll notice each of these now are in jeopardy. And again, of course, if I go back to my color coding, very easy for me to see which ones I need to deal with. Now, these actions can be taken from a variety of places. I can act within a service appointment, on a service resource, even on the map. So if I go to my map view here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new polygon. So a polygon is just a way for me to define an area on the map. So let's say I'm going to define one, just for sake of example, called the burbs. I'm going to go ahead and draw it now on my screen. You can import from KML data, which is the technology that defines these polygons. You can import polygons as well. And if I can draw this successfully, now I have my polygon. I'll go ahead and save that. And what I've done here is I put this polygon around a group of appointments. And when I right mouse click here, you'll notice I also have the option to toggle jeopardy. And when I do this, all of the appointments remaining in here will also be toggled. So lots of power. Effectively, anything you can do through VisualForce and Apex, you can now do directly through the console. What this means is you can automate processes, things that previously maybe took multiple steps, you can do through a simple one-click right mouse option. Okay, and then last thing I want to show within the Gantt area are some customizations that we've made around the utilization view. So right now I'm looking at a 3-day schedule. If I want to, though, I can take advantage of my utilization view. Now, typically, I'd be using utilization to understand, am I too low, am I too high, overloading certain resources. Potentially, I've got more travel than I want happening, again, for certain resources. So what the resource utilization view now lets you do is configure not just what will be tracked as factors for the utilization, but the period over which that will be done. So you'll notice right now I'm looking at a 2-week view. If I want to shrink that view down to 7 days, my view is updating. And you'll also notice, as I was making these toggles, that we're also calculating the resource's average utilization over that time period. So very easy for me to scan and explore different time periods and different factors that might be contributing to someone being over or under utilized. Very, very handy. All right, and that is the end of my demo. So I'm going to go back now to the slides and talk a little bit about the roadmap and what we have coming. So first and foremost, our mission is to empower mobile workers to delight their customers. And so the first theme is really all about empowering this mobile workforce. And we've got a couple major initiatives we're working on. We continue to expand our capabilities around user guidance. You've seen the foundation for that, which is started with record actions on work types and work order line items. We will expand those capabilities and bring user guidance directly into the Field Service Lightning mobile app so that all of the mobile workers can take advantage of the processes that are appropriate and correct for them at any given time. Secondly, another major investment theme for us is around mobile forms. So when we talk to our customers, a predominant reason why so many things are still manual and happening on paper is because that mobile worker needs to gather data, whether it's a form, a checklist, an assessment, a survey. They're in the field and they're walking around with clipboards because they need to gather this data. Our mission is to help you automate and make things more optimum for your workforce. So we'll let you define your mobile forms, gather that data out in the field, associate it with Salesforce data on the back end so that you can distribute the reports and ultimately analyze and improve. Within our Connected Customers theme, again, we're benefiting from our fantastic partnerships we have with the Snap-ins team. We are bringing self-service appointment booking to customers and a new day of service Uber-like experience. Carrying on with Intelligent Service, we'll be debuting in a pilot form predictive traffic so that traffic patterns can be considered as part of scheduling. And then finally on the platform, we have more coming related to IoT, some new Einstein areas, and we're going to be partnering with our great friends at MuleSoft so that we can connect FSL with all the third-party systems we know are out there. And that's where we're headed. Happy to take some questions.
Well, you all been busy.
Very much.
That's a huge release for field service, and lots more amazing stuff coming as well. I love the color coding. I can't believe how much information you can fit on one screen and still have it be very usable
So
and
true. So true.
workable. So I'm very excited, but I want to hear what our audience has to say. So Sam, what's out there? Questions and shout outs?
Well, I have a question. So one of the things that I've heard is that there's something special happening for field service lightning at Dreamforce. Can you shed some light?
We have an action-packed Dreamforce for field service. I'm so glad you asked that. So we've got a new super session. You should definitely check out the FSL super session, as well as our tremendous roadmap and workshop sessions. We also have a new dedicated FSL station area. So within the Marriott, the service area, there is a carved out dedicated FSL station. That's where all of our experts will be located. Would be very happy for you to come and talk to us. And we do have a meetup happening at that station area where there may be some beverages and some giveaways. So lots of great learning, as well as a chance to meet other customers, partners, and the R&D team.
And Elna, so how much more time do we have for questions? Because
Maybe
I know
two.
we're at the...
We're going to go a couple minutes extra just so we can get a couple of questions in. and we're
All right.
good.
Okay. So first question, it's for field service lightning. First of all, there's a shout out for the golden slots functionality. Is it available for maintenance plans?
Correct. So it's generally available as a new option that you can choose to enable within the managed package. So in the appointment bookings area, you'll see there's an option to toggle that on. You can use that to book any type of appointment you need.
Alrighty, and Elna, can I roll back a little bit to some of the other features
Sure.
that we talked about? So I'm getting a lot of questions about testing some of these features and capabilities, and what is the best way for people to be able to test something like Live Agent? Is it a dev org? Is it a Trailhead playground? Where do they go to experiment?
Well, I would definitely recommend a dev org. So what's great about dev environments is that they're set up with the majority of our product capabilities enabled by default. It means they have the licensing available. Many of the capabilities are turned on. If they're not, you can turn it on. So if you're looking to get a full Salesforce experience where you want to get your hands on and you want to get dirty, dev org is a great way to do it.
Well, and I asked that question for the complete audience. Now, Roman, I want to let you know we hear you about the closed case functionality. He's interested in that, and I know that we're connecting with product management on that. And Elna, I think I should turn it back over to you. Right. Go get a dev org. It's an easy way to play and experiment, and then to use Trailhead to
I would add Trailhead to that. Things like Live Agent, there's an excellent Trailhead on that, so takes you right from the setup to a full-blown deployment.
There you go.
And I gotta say, this was officially 2 days of awesome for the Flow HANA. So if you're in the Flow HANA, I don't need to tell you but if you have not used Flow before, or you're looking to learn more about it, let us know in the community, because maybe we'll even put together a trail mix for you so you can go learn about it. And there's
trailheads, and even at Dreamforce, just like field service, there's a huge action-packed Flow session. So there's sessions, there's workshops. I can send you in the community, drop in all the Flow sessions that we're having for them to come take a look at.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to wrap it up for today, but thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if we didn't get to your question live, don't worry. We will follow up with you within the next few days. And also, we have recorded this broadcast so you can watch it back, watch that demo again, and share it with your colleagues. And also, we really love your feedback. So if you could take a moment and fill out the survey that should be linked below before you go, that would be really helpful to us. And then you can join us again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific for our final broadcast for Winter 19, which will be on Community Cloud, and we hope that you will come back and join us then. Now, I can't wait to hear how you're using new features to innovate. So let's keep the conversation going in the release readiness community, where all of us are there to help you be release ready.